45 minutes or so. We drove up to Pinellas Park, which is right by Tampa. You can see on the map right here. It's about a 2-hour drive and should be pretty good. Honestly, I just pre-rode the course and the turns are all super flowy, super nice pavement. So it's really, you know, a diesel engine course, which is what I am, especially right now. Don't really like the super sharp accelerations, but if we can hold speed, I think I can position myself well for the end. But that being said, it is kind of like if you get about a 30-second gap, I've heard, you kind of get out of sight from the main field. So that's what you gotta watch. If a group goes off the front or you're in the front, watch that 30-second mark, because once they get past that, then you know you can't really see them. So we'll see how it goes. Hey, welcome back to the Glycogen Cycling channel. As always, we are going to start with an entire full lap. And I'm starting on lap 2 because the first lap was actually kind of boring. It was really slow. So you can see there's a couple attacks going off the front now. So the race is actually starting up now. First lap was just kind of a warm-up for everyone. So this was the Pinellas Park crit. It was right outside Tampa. And it was actually really fun. It was actually more of a circuit race than a crit. It was a 2.2 mile course with 25 laps, so it was 50 miles. So actually not really a crit at all. But before I get into it, I just want to mention some crucial information. So the guy 4 wheels in front of me right now on the Avolo kit, number 6, you can see him popping out right there. He is Michael Hernandez, and this year he won the U23 Crit National Championship, and he was also on Team USA for the Tour of California. So basically this guy is the real deal, and he was the marked man in this race because of that. You know, if he went, that's, you know, everyone else is going to go, because if he's in the move, it's going to stick, and if he's not, you know, then the move is not going to stick. You know, he's going to be there for sure. So everyone is watching him, and you're going to see in a little bit the attack he made, which was like crazy. But before I get into it, let's talk about the course a little bit. So the start finish line is right here. This course was super wide open, as you can see. Turns were, you know, absolutely perfect, beautiful pavement, like nothing that's gonna affect the race at all. So it was basically a diesel engine course, as I was saying earlier. And the main actual thing that was probably the most decisive was the wind. The wind, as the day went on, felt like it was literally coming from every direction. Towards the beginning of this race, it felt like it was more coming from the right-hand side right now. So if I was on the left, which I thought this was a great place to move up, I'd get some protection from the right-hand side from the wind. But as the day went on, I don't know what happened. I was talking to other people, and it literally felt like the wind was blowing, like we had a headwind in every single direction we were going. So that kind of headwind or crosswind. So that kind of was actually pretty decisive. And the point where it was the strongest was on the, I guess you'd call it the front stretch, right after turn 1 where the cones are. That's where it was the most crosswindy. And that kind of was where a lot of moves would actually get established, because you can't get that great of a draft. So you can see there's a couple attacks going, but really everyone's just watching this Michael guy and making him do a lot of work, because obviously he's the strongest guy here for sure. So you're not going to give him a free ride. So if there's a move going, he's got to close that down. And that's kind of how this race played out. After Intelligentsia Cup, I should mention, I've just like had no motivation to train really hard. So my legs are not super great right now. And because of that, I have to be very, very calculated in this race with the moves I make. I have to make sure it's actually a very decisive attack if I'm going to go with it. So you can see those guys start attacking, and I'm not even like reacting at all. I'm going to let people come in front of me, close that down, and I'm just going to sit in at my 230 watts and chill. Because it is a 50-mile race, so you have to be actually very calculated and make sure you're drinking, eating enough. And it was super hot too, which was another deciding factor, I think. So you can see in a few seconds here, Michael on Avolo just comes around me like he got shot out of a cannon and gets a pretty decent gap. And at this point, this is actually a very threatening move, I think, because if guys get up there with him, this is for sure going to stick. And you can see right here, I'm kind of like just playing how I usually am, just kind of sitting on wheels, letting other people close it down. But then this guy kind of just like pulls off for whatever reason. And I'm like, okay, this has to be shut down. Otherwise, this may actually be the race 6 laps in. So fortunately, I was able to catch up here in a second. Again, not going super deep because, you know, I'm trying to save myself as much as I can. So let a couple guys come around me, have them close it off. I did a little bit of work. Now they can do a little bit of work. And this was the Crosswinds section. So you can see a lot of guys hanging towards the right because the wind was coming off our left hand shoulder. So, you know, if you're towards the right, you're not going to get as much draft. That's one thing you should, like, the big difference I noticed when I went from cat like 4-3, 3-4-5 to up to the 1-2s is they really pay attention to wind and hold the section where you're not going to get as much draft. So if the wind's coming from your left, hold the right hand side of the road, because, you know, sitting directly behind someone isn't always the best place to be. So somehow this gets brought back. I don't know if they just actually caught him or if he just, and by he I mean Michael, sat up because he thought the guys in front weren't that great of people to work with. But he gets all back together and we reset for the next attack. So I kind of just use this momentum to go towards the front and get back to, you know, the front so I can make sure I'm where the race is. And one thing I should mention is this course, I couldn't record the whole thing because it was longer than an hour, and that's how long my GoPro lasts. And I kind of lost where the actual part of the race was. So Michael and a couple other guys were sitting like 3 seconds off the front, and I was watching them, but I was kind of further back, and I noticed, like, I was like, for sure this is getting pulled back. But somehow like 15 guys get up the road, and I'm in no place to close it down. So the whole race just kind of blew up, and the rest of the guys in my group kind of just like gave up, pulled themselves out of the race, or, you know, got dropped or whatever. It was really hot out there, so makes sense. But now we have like 5 or 6 guys, and they just come around and tell us this is our last lap since we're about to get lapped here. So once he tells us this, I'm like in the front of the race. So I'm just kind of sitting up at this point, letting other guys, I'm like, all right, pull through. I'm not going to lead you guys out for the sprint here. And this guy just ends up tacking. So I'm like, okay, now's the time to go. And it was actually kind of funny what he was saying. You'll hear in a second. So we actually get a gap right here. And obviously he's swerving all over the place because, you know, he wants me to pull through. And right here he's like, all right, pull through, man. Don't just suck my wheel because you're a loser. But so at this point he pulls off the side again. I'm looking back at this point and see they're about to catch us. So I'm like, all right, I need to go. And you can hear what he said there. He's like, and that's bike racing. Which, yeah, that is bike racing. So we're coming into the sprint. Obviously this is for like 15th or 16th, so this doesn't really freaking matter that much, but you know, might as well finish it up pretty hard. And I had a decent gap, and you can notice I'm holding the right hand side as like closely to the curb as I can, because this is the shortest line since it's a circle. So obviously I want to go the shortest distance, but I kind of sit up at this point, and I get like caught at the line by one guy. So it is what it is, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you soon for another video. Thanks for watching.